Okay, let's unpack this. We're diving into a really crucial and honestly a surprisingly technical topic today. We're talking about the hidden pressure cooker of restaurant operational finance. So if you run a kitchen or if you manage logistics, even if you just eat out a lot, this deep dive is going to explain why your budget and yeah, maybe the price of your appetizers is about to get hammered. We are pulling our information directly from a very specialized report. It's called the Restaurant Energy Market Briefing and Strategy. It was published by GWT2Energy and it's dated November 17, 2025. And this document, it's really a warning flare. It's alerting the entire hospitality industry to some immediate and pretty severe cost spikes. So our mission here is to translate this really dense market briefing into clear, actionable knowledge. We need to figure out the exact points of pressure on restaurant costs and maybe more importantly, reveal the strategies that the source insists you have to use right now to, claw back some control.
Yeah, in this briefing, it really doesn't mince words.
It says that passive energy management is just not an option anymore and that proactive involvement is now, and I'm quoting, more critical than ever.
It absolutely should be a wake-up call.
For an industry with margins that thin, that's a scary phrase.
It is. I mean, if you look at a restaurant's typical P&L, energy costs have historically been treated almost like rent,
Not just a fixed cost you have to pay.
Exactly, a fixed, unavoidable expense. But that mindset is, well, it's downright dangerous now. The volatility in the market today means energy is fast becoming a key variable expense, and it's one that operators have direct but often completely untapped control over. And to really get the financial threat here, we can't just look at the electricity meter, it's bigger than that. We have to look at the interconnected trends. So natural gas, which is the fuel for most commercial cooking and heating.
The backbone of the kitchen.
The backbone. And then the downstream impact that has on electricity, and even the logistics costs tied to fuel. It's a whole complex web of costs, and right now, every single thread is tightening.
Okay, so let's start there. The immediate pain points. What are the two main utility sources that are just driving these operational costs skyward right now? What's the snapshot?
Well, the briefing lays out a really clear and frankly concerning picture on natural gas. Prices are currently hovering near, 3-year highs.
That's right.
And this isn't just a temporary blip. Crucially, the forecast says they're going to stay elevated, which basically locks in higher heating and cooking bills for the whole winter. I mean, just think about what that means for a high-volume place. Your pasta water, your deep fryer, the HVAC system.
Everything.
They're all drawing from a pool that is the most expensive it's been in years.
And that spike in natural gas then creates this compounding effect on the electricity side of things.
Okay.
The source notes that electricity costs are already up a pretty concerning 6% year over year.
Yeah. And the reason for this link is fundamental. Even if your restaurant runs on all electric appliances, the generating plants that supply that electricity, well, they often rely on natural gas, especially during peak demand.
So you can't escape it.
You can't. When the price of the primary fuel natural gas spikes, the cost to generate electricity spikes right along with it. So that 6% increase isn't happening in a vacuum. It's a direct response to the natural gas pressure. And this hits everything. Walk-in freezers, lights, ventilation, your POS systems. You're getting hit on two fronts, and they are, mathematically linked.
So high gas prices make for high electricity prices. The operator is basically getting penalized twice for the exact same market pressure.
That's a tight loop.
It really is.
Yeah.
But the briefing does have one genuinely significant piece of good news in it that could offer some relief.
That's right, yeah. While the utilities are a source of stress, there's a silver lining. It's in the supply chain logistics category. The briefing says that gasoline and diesel prices are actually declining. And maybe more importantly, they're a forecast to drop even further through 2026.
Okay, now this is where we have to stop and do some of the math, because this isn't just a small comfort. It could be strategic. So if I'm an operator, my gas and electric bills are spiking, but my cost to, say, move produce from the distribution center to my back door, that's going down.
It's a critical question. And the answer really, it depends entirely on the type of restaurant you're running. So think about a high-volume diner or maybe a ghost kitchen that's focused only on delivery.
Yeah, their whole model is logistics.
The reliance on gasoline and diesel is extremely high. So savings there can actually, significantly counteract the utility spike.
Okay.
But what if you run a high-end sit-down bistro, minimal delivery, heavy reliance on these huge gas-fired specialty ovens? In that case, your utility spike is going to dwarf any savings on logistics.
Right.
The key takeaway here is that you have to factor these two opposing trends into your budget at the same time. You might see, say, a 20% saving on your delivery transport from lower fuel costs. But if your utility bill jumps by 16%, you might only see a net 5% increase in total costs, instead of that catastrophic 16% you were originally fearing.
That's a huge difference.
Yeah.
It moves the needle from just pure crisis management to actual strategic budget control.
That's the distinction.
That is the key. So let's shift from these big market trends to the actual dollars hitting the industry. Because what's fascinating here is just understanding the sheer amount of money we're talking about, even before these spikes.
The benchmark figures in the briefing show that energy, on average, makes up about 3 to 5% of a restaurant's total operating costs.
3 to 5%. Now, on paper, that number can look, well, it can look minor next to huge things like rent or labor.
It can, but in an industry where your net profits rarely get above, 5 to 8%, that 3 to 5% for energy is the swing factor. It's the difference between making money and losing it.
And when you translate that percentage into actual cash, it gets sobering really fast. The data from GWT2Energy shows that the average restaurant is already spending somewhere between $2,000 and $6,000 a month.
Per month.
Just to keep the lights on and the ovens hot. It's a recurring expense that I think a lot of operators just write the check without actively managing it.
They do.
And here is where it gets really important for you, the listener. That specific cost threat we mentioned earlier, the natural gas projection, is a projected rise of a massive 16% in the coming year.
16%.
So when you apply a 16% jump to an already recurring, say, $6,000 monthly bill, you're looking at an extra $960 a month. That's nearly $12,000 a year just walking out the door.
And that kind of immediate budget shock forces some extremely difficult trade-offs. I mean, a restaurant owner facing an unplanned $12,000 cost hike has, 3 painful choices?
Right.
1, they absorb the cost, which means the owner makes less money, and that could impact long-term viability.
Sure.
2, they raise menu prices, but that risks alienating your loyal customers, especially in a price-sensitive market. Or 3, they have to cut somewhere else. And that usually means labor, delaying equipment upgrades, maybe reducing staff shifts.
So this 16% jump, it's not just a number on a spreadsheet. It actually dictates your staffing levels and your ability to invest in your own business.
It does, and we have to layer on the seasonal context here. We're talking about this spike heading right into the deep winter months.
The worst possible time.
The worst time. Heating demand is at its absolute peak. So the volume of natural gas being consumed is going up dramatically right when the price per unit is rising by 16%.
So it's a double whammy.
It is. The combination of increased usage and increased cost means that in December or January, those budgets might be even more strained than the annual average suggests. It's a perfect storm, and it demands immediate action.
Okay, immediate action is required, but you can't act if you don't know where to focus.
Yeah.
So before we get to the solutions, we absolutely have to understand the anatomy of a restaurant's energy use. If management wants to mitigate that 16% gas spike and the 6% electricity increase, they have to know where the bulk of their efforts should go.
This is maybe the most actionable piece of data in the whole briefing. The analysis gives a critical breakdown that should be tattooed on the forehead of every single restaurant manager.
Okay.
Cooking, refrigeration, and lighting.
Just those 3.
Those 3 areas combined account for over 2/3. We're talking nearly 70% of a restaurant's total energy consumption.
Wow, over 2/3.
The implication of that breakdown is profound. And if you walk into a commercial kitchen and the chef is complaining about how hot it is, you know exactly where your profit is escaping.
Right.
That huge 6-burner range, that inefficient convection oven, those leaky walk-in freezers, they are the culprits.
So it's concentrated.
It's highly concentrated, which means that efforts to, say, optimize the back office computer use or turn off a bathroom light are, frankly, trivial compared to what you can save by focusing intensely on those 3 core areas.
So the message is pretty clear then. Stop sweating the small stuff and go after the heavy hitters. If you can squeeze just 10% more efficiency out of your refrigeration unit or switch to high-efficiency LEDs in the kitchen,
you've made a substantial dent.
you made a real dent in the whole operations budget, not just some minor line item.
Exactly.
But, as you pointed out, efficiency alone, It might not be enough when prices are spiking this aggressively. The briefing makes it crystal clear that just continuing on with a passive approach, just paying whatever the local utility charges you, is costing operators dearly right now.
Yeah.
So what specific strategic mechanism does the source recommend for taking control of the procurement price itself?
The core recommendation is a shift in mindset from being a passive consumer to being an active market participant
Oh.
through what they call strategic energy procurement. This is especially for businesses that operate in deregulated energy markets.
Deregulated markets. What does that actually mean in practical terms?
So in a regulated market, you have no choice. You buy from the one monopoly utility, period.
Right.
But in a deregulated market, which is common in many states and regions, you are legally free to choose your supplier of natural gas or electricity.
Oh, so there's competition.
There's competition. And that choice is precisely what opens the door to strategic procurement and lets you fight back against that 16% gas hike.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But for a busy restaurant owner who's already managing staff and supply shortages and customer complaints, strategic procurement sounds like hiring a whole new department.
It does.
Is there a shortcut, a tool that makes this feasible for, a mid-sized operation?
That is where the innovative tool mentioned in the briefing comes in. It's called reverse auction bid software.
A reverse auction.
This is the shortcut. It removes the need for the owner to, manually call dozens of suppliers and try to negotiate contracts. Just imagine you're buying a large block of natural gas for your winter needs. Instead of you chasing 3 suppliers for a quote, this reverse auction software puts your exact energy needs out onto a digital platform.
Okay.
And on that platform, dozens of pre-approved energy suppliers can see your request. Then they compete instantly and transparently, bidding down against each other in real time to win your business.
So they're fighting for your business, not the other way around.
It is a fundamental inversion of the typical sales process.
That shift from the restaurant owner begging for a decent rate to suppliers actively fighting over the restaurant's contract, that seems key.
It is.
It basically forces the best possible market price that's available at that moment. And this reverse auction idea is presented as the crucial countermeasure to stop that 16% gas jump from just destroying profits.
It's about using technology to bring procurement intelligence into what's historically been a very passive cost center.
All right, that brings us toward the end of our deep dive into the GWT2Energy briefing. Let's try to summarize the key takeaways for you. First, it seems like strategic energy procurement, maybe using tools like these reverse auctions, is essential for survival, especially if you're in one of those deregulated markets.
Second, the bulk of your operational energy costs, that critical 2/3 metric, is concentrated overwhelmingly in just 3 areas.
Cooking, refrigeration, and lighting.
Exactly. If you're not focused on efficiency there, you are missing the single biggest lever you have for savings.
And finally, the financial volatility is immediate and it's severe. We've got natural gas at 3-year highs. Electricity is up 6% year over year. These are not small numbers, and they demand immediate strategic action because they directly impact your profit and your staffing.
And if we connect this back to the bigger picture, we land on that fascinating tension we talked about earlier. You have the severe upward pressure on utilities, 16% on gas, 6% on electricity. But you also have that silver lining of declining gasoline and diesel prices, which eases logistics costs. This raises a really important question for anyone doing financial planning for a restaurant that needs to be modeled right now. How much will those projected savings on delivery and supply chain fuel actually offset the severe upward utility pressure on the overall budget?
Is that relief on the outside enough to negate the 16% jump on the inside for heating and cooking?
That precise calculation defines your budget's health for the next 12 months.
And here's a final thought for you, even if you are not running a restaurant. The lesson here really transcends the food service industry. Understanding where your core operational costs are concentrated, like that clear 2/3 metric for cooking, cooling, and lighting, that can guide your own strategy for efficiency and savings in any business. Whether you operate a fleet of vehicles or manage a large manufacturing plant, or heck, even just budget for a complex household, knowing your leverage points, where the bulk of the money actually goes, well, that's not half the battle. It's the entire roadmap to strategic savings.